First, let's visualize supply and demand. We draw two axes where the y-axis is the price in dollars, euros, or chickens if you're in medieval Europe, and the x-axis is quantity of the good in question. Let's pretend we're living in an expansive desert somewhere and we're selling bottles of spice. Next, we draw the demand curve. In simple terms, demand is how much of a product or service people want. You'll notice that the demand curve is downward sloping. At a price of 8, customers want 2 bottles of spice. At 6, customers want 4. And at 4, customers want 6. Intuitively, this makes sense. The cheaper the good, the more that's demanded. Let's examine the supply curve now. Supply is how much of that product or service is available. The supply curve is upward sloping. At a price of 2, producers are willing to supply 2 bottles of spice. At a price of 4, they'll supply 4 bottles, and at a price of 6, they'll supply 6 bottles. Now let's put both curves on the graphs at the same time to see what happens. When demand exceeds supply, we get a shortage. This happens when the price is too low, leading people to want more than is available. On the other hand, a surplus happens when supply exceeds demand. This means that the price is too high and there are more products available than people want to buy. When no shortage or surplus exists in a market, the market is said to be at equilibrium. The equilibrium point of a market can be found at the intersection of the supply and demand curve. However, markets aren't always stable and both demand and supply curves can shift. Let's go back to our example of the spice seller. Let's say it's discovered that the spice being sold provides some sort of level of precognition when consumed. This would increase people's desire for it at all price levels. This is called an increase in demand, and it shifts the demand curve to the right. This shift would create a new equilibrium point for the market. Both the price and quantity of the spice would increase. Supply can also shift. For instance, let's say some animal, how about sandworms, start appearing where you harvest the spice, which causes it to be more difficult to harvest, leading to a decrease in supply. This would represent a shift in the supply curve and can be illustrated by shifting the curve to the left. This shift would create a new equilibrium point for the market. The price would increase and the quantity of the spice supplied would decrease. So, to recap, supply and demand work together to determine the price and quantity of goods sold in the market. Shortages happen when demand is higher than supply, and surpluses happen when supply is higher than demand. And both demand and supply can shift depending on changes in the market. Now, let's pivot from the graphical representation of supply and demand to the mathematical one, and see how you'd find the equilibrium point in the market. As we saw when we graphed the demand curve, the quantity demanded is a function of price. We'll use the equation 100 minus 2 times the price is equal to the quantity demanded. Similarly, the quantity supplied is a function of price. We'll use the equation 20 plus 3 times the price is equal to the quantity supplied. To find the equilibrium, set demand equal to supply. Once we combine the two equations, we can apply some algebraic manipulation to solve. Ultimately, we get that the equilibrium price is 16. Now we can substitute the price of 16 back into one of the equations to find the equilibrium quantity. Quantity demanded is equal to 100 minus 32, which is 68. Therefore, the market equilibrium is a price of 16 and a quantity of 68. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and get in the comments to let me know what economic topics you'd like us to cover.